No matter how many times you save the world, it always manages to get back in jeopardy again. I mean, sometimes I just want it to stay saved, you know, for a little bit. I feel like the maid. I just cleaned up this mess. Can we keep it clean for 10 minutes?
You know, this year hasn't exactly been great in terms of new releases coming out, and I'm pretty sure it's safe to say that a good portion of the fan base really isn't happy with a couple things about Hasbro at this point. From the god-awful quality control of the Earthrise line, lackluster paint schemes, and don't even get me started on the distribution. 60% of the entire Earthrise line was some BS impossible to find 2-pack bundle assault with horrible box store availability, and I'm pretty sure it's safe to say that they just haven't been on point this year. I honestly think it's time for us to sit down and have a serious intervention with Hasbro.
What are you talking about? We've been more than reasonable with our distribution, especially in Canada and the UK, and literally anywhere that isn't the United States of America.
Are you sure about
Come on, masterpiece reviews. Come on, we need more masterpiece reviews. Come on, give us some.
Do you know how many times I've had to call upon contacts in the US to ensure I got a figure? It's like flipping a coin. Sometimes I get the figure before the States, sometimes it doesn't even show up at all. It's like, what even is distribution anymore? An Amazon exclusive, they say one date and they get another. Pah!
So given that it's 2020 and we are currently in the middle of an apocalypse, that's all I'll call it because I don't want this poor fella to get his video demonetized, everyone's gonna have at least one figure cancelled. Just ask anyone who's pre-ordered anything this year and something will be lost. For me it was Centurion. Problem with Hasbro Pulse is you can't really order from them if you're in Australia unless you have a freight forwarder. And I didn't want to go through the hassle, so I just ordered through a website that had its entire shipment cancelled. Sorry folks, just not enough stock, so I was out of luck. The only reason I have this figure is because one of my friends won one in a raffle and wanted to sell off just the bot itself and keep the weapons, so ultimately I ended up paying more for less, but I think it was a good trade-off because, let's be real here, the weapons pack was actually kind of shit. I just got some moldery casts instead and they turned out far better. But it doesn't change the fact that it is a bit of a shit situation.
You know what distribution messed up for me? My holiday specials. I was planning on reviewing the Coneheads for Christmas before, well, Thrust was announced to be a Target exclusive, and I was also planning on reviewing both of the Quintessons that were released this year for Halloween. But I haven't been able to find them in stores, and Amazon is selling them at a 50% markup, so no thank you.
Clearly, the poor distribution of Transformers figures in Earthrise is the work of an enemy stand!
I don't know what everyone's complaining about. I mean, I totally love when the first wave comes up after months of everyone else getting them. In fact, some people have wave 2 already of the new series, but, you know, at least we get wave 1 forever. Because that's all we ever get by the time everyone's got wave 2 and 3 and 4. We're still stuck on wave 1, you know, that's fantastic. And then we don't know what's going on with the exclusives because internationally they don't care. They don't bother to really explain anything. Sometimes they don't even put them out. I don't even know what's going on with the breakup pack. Man, it's great to be in Canada!
Now, TFanpage loses his mind.
I don't know what we're ranting about, so I'm just gonna point fingers and be mad. I'm gonna scream real loud. Ah! That's me screaming. That's because of you doing something and I don't like it. Nobody likes it for some reason.
It. Honestly, I think Hasbro just needs to shut down and take a break.
Well, hold up. Shut down? Look, man, I'm angry, but I'm not that angry. I mean, have you seen the brakes on this guy? Look at them. It's a deluxe figure with molded-in brakes. And not just your standard brake rotors. No, sir, these are performance-drilled rotors, just with the wheel-jack order. Not only seen in high-performance vehicles where heat dissipation is an issue, it's insane the little details they can put in these figures. I mean, not all the figures around here, but all I have is brakes. I think I can live. In fact, I love these brakes so much, I bought 2 of these figures, just for the sake of having brakes in my life. Sunstreet Prince right? Not yet. Who sits
I mean, the covers review Masterpiece Transformers. Just saying.
Is this copyright safe enough, WMG, you fucks? It's no lie that Ultra Magnus has been a character that I've mentioned more than once on my channel. The severely underpaid assistant manager of the Autobots having to deal with the worst anti-masking Decepticarons imaginable on every possible front. A soldier who didn't think he was worthy expected to step up to the position of leadership in the Transformers movie in 1986, after Optimus Prime was killed by LOL, whoops, himself. Don't at me, that's what happened. And I'm just sure after the Autobot city battle was over, that nothing stupid would happen and everything would go smoothly and according to plan, right? I'm sure that he would have some time to develop as a leader, might struggle a little bit, but ultimately have some form of success in the process. Right? Yeah, Ultra Magnus has always been a bit of a doofus in a sense, because he always seems to get the worst shit from every angle of the universe, no matter what universe he's in. The literal second he became leader of the Autobots, an omnipotent planet-sized demon god started literally eating the fucking universe, and a batshit insane possessed version of Megatron was revived and started killing the shit out of everything. After having the Matrix taken, Hasbro decided, ooh, I know, let's make the Kid Appeal character who has no time to develop as a leader, and give him the Matrix. That's not a stupid idea, right?
Rodimus Prime, you will lead the Autobots. Oh, really? That's awesome! Now you have to scan a new I'm gonna turn into a Winnebago! Wow!
Despite his dorkiness and clean desk obsession, Ultra Magnus has always been my freaking way through. My parents are proud of me. Ultra Magnus transforms into an absolute metric fuck ton of awesome. A red, white, and blue car carrying truck. This boxy, gigantic truck mode is so stupidly big it isn't even funny. It feels more like a freaking Tonka truck that you yeet around in the sandbox when you're 4 years old than the Transformer because of how stupidly big it is, mixed with a die-cast metal feet and rubber tires that allow him to roll like no tomorrow. The sculpted detail on this thing is off the charts incredible. From the riveting detail at the front of the cab to the bitchin' chromed out truck grille with a red bumper. Why?
It's animation accurate. We've got to make it animation accurate.
Can we take a second to talk about moving freaking windshield wipers? Move out of the way, Earthrise Prime. This guy's got moving windshield wipers. Mix that with the side view mirrors that fold in and out, and you have yourself a lazy eyebrow reviewer nerd out starter pack. The paint scheme on this thing is absolute god tier, with a dark rich shade of blue popping so hard against the cherry red, along with chrome paint. I'm such a simp for chrome paint, I'm not even kidding. Don't believe me? I got the LGEX God Jinrai box set off eBay for $263.93, just so I could get God Bomber with chrome paint. I don't know if that's a flex or a reflection of how much of a disappointment I am to my entire family. But let's not talk about that. The sheer idiot size of this thing is freaking hilarious. It definitely is a two-handed transformation that you had to grip with the force of God. It feels like a full body workout transforming this thing half the time, but the sheer dumb size does come with a bit of a downside. The top of the deck of the trailer sucks. No matter how hard I try, this thing will not tab in flush and stay level. You have to use a stupid amount of force to get the tabs on the wrist covers to even go in. And it isn't even that they're too tight, it's that they're just too stupidly massive and they can't handle their own weight. The sides of the truck also have a significantly difficult time tabbing into the sides on my copy of the thing because the legs are just a floppy mess with the ratchet joints, and they also have a difficult time tabbing into each other because the nubs are so short, and this results in an unsightly thigh gap down the bottom level of the trailer. Now, just full disclaimer, this is THF Hyper Magnum, so it is a knockoff of the actual MP figure. So take any QC issues I present here with a grain of salt, but I actually wanted to support the official release on this thing. The issue is that the market is so fucking saturated with knockoffs that it's easier to find them being sold for the price of an official MP than to find the actual real thing. I don't want to pay an actual official masterpiece price for a knockoff. It doesn't make any sense. And when it's so difficult to differentiate between what a knockoff and a masterpiece is, it's kinda justified that Hasbro got Wei Jing shut down. I mean, for shit's sake, I learned from the lazy eyebrow reviewer that there's a knockoff company that was calling themselves Tactile.
What? What the fuck?
How did they get away with this? But, on the other hand, here's one weird thing that Hasbro could do. How about fixing your shitty distribution system, which has always been broken pre-pandemic? Or better yet, not charge 240 actual US dollars retail for the official release when I can get a KO from Wei Jing for $80 that's somehow the exact same quality and has die-cast metal. Imagine getting upset with this thing being $240 when MP-22 has a tactile feel of dog shit in every step of the transformation and is being sold for literally double the goddamn price on sale?
But it will look 100% more cartoon accurate. You've got to love cartoon accuracy. Otherwise I shall come over and smite you myself.
Anyways, the missile launchers don't come on tab, but they do come on a really clever and intricate series of hinges and swiveling joints that allow them to point pretty much anywhere you want them to. The missiles can be removed, but they're not spring-loaded, which, thank God, this is a masterpiece figure, not a 2010 retail toy. But I have to say it, this vehicle mode is marvelous. This is from a time where masterpiece figures were going for hyper-realistic vehicle modes and tune-accurate robot modes, with an occasional design liberty taken to improve upon the aesthetics of the robot mode. I loved this generation of masterpiece figures. They were ungodly amazing at the time, with quality and care and good engineering being put into them, and not $500 for a transformation that has a tactile feel of dog shit.
What does the transformation matter? It is 1000% cartoon accurate.
Dr. Lockdown brought in one of his previous reviews. Unlike Marvel Legends figures, which just have to have amazing sculpting with great articulation that looks natural, a ton of accessories, and the works, Transformers have a whole in-between process that has to go on to make the experience enjoyable. When it comes to the assessment of the quality of Transformers, only about 10% of the thing depends upon the cosmetics. The majority of what we want is the experience in between. If everything that happens between the vehicle mode and the robot mode is complete dog shit and completely unmanageable to handle, then the entire experience becomes unenjoyable. So that kind of begs the question, how does the tactile feel on this thing? It's underwhelming. Between the floppy upper deck of the trailer, which absolutely refuses to tab in unless you squeeze the absolute crap out of it and risk stressing and or breaking some of the tabs, the side flaps that do not like to tab into the sides of the truck mode, and the ugly lower deck of the trailer, it just feels kind of underwhelming in my opinion. It's definitely not bad, don't get me wrong. Nobody's gonna look at the lower deck of the trailer on an Ultra Magnus figure and nitpick the absolute hell out of it, but I just wish they could have done something more, given the fact this is a masterpiece. And any Ultra Magnus that can transport an Ultra Magnus that can transport even more Ultra Magnuses on top of that Ultra Magnus is A-okay in my book. So anyways, let's get into transformation. The transformation of this thing is a very mixed bag. There are components of it that I absolutely love, don't get me wrong, like the way that the shoulders swing around the outside of themselves and then collapse and fold themselves up is just such an absolute pro gamer move, it isn't even funny. But then you get to certain parts of it that just feel so rushed and clumsy. The way the truck cab is handled on this thing is kind of a disaster in comparison to the Chad Combiner Wars Ultra Magnus. Like the way that thing utilizes a truck cab by having it barrel roll upside down to fill in the chest cavity, as opposed to having the whole thing just drape over his back and become an ugly looking backpack. It's just night and day of a difference. Don't get me wrong, the robot mode looks freaking fantastic, but As I said, tactile feels important, and this thing, it might be the fact it's a KO, but it feels incredibly floppy to me. These ratchet joints are fucking awful, and the ratchet joints in the right knee of my copy have already completely blown out to the point of them just being friction hinges. I ran into a problem with the wheels on my copy of the thing. The little slider track system where you have to pull the wheel wells out, rotate them, and then push them into the thing to add the faux wheels instead of the real wheels, which I find to be completely fucking stupid. The slider track wound up breaking on my copy because it's only attached by a red plastic peg. Multiply that by the fact that you have to be able to really rip the thing out of there with absolutely no way of getting a good grip, and you'll have yourself a disastrous quality control problem just waiting to happen. Roller skating Magnus isn't real. He can't. But don't you dare even think that I'm calling this figure bad, because I am not. This thing is legitimately impressive. This head sculpt is pure sex. It's just absolutely gorgeous. And unlike the Siege version, this one brings back his Chad Aviator eyes versus the Virgin... What the fuck is this? I love the fact that the missile launchers on the shoulders still have the exact same versatile hinges that they had on the truck. The way they worked that out is actually really cool. But what they're attached to is completely fucking stupid. For you to be able to get any outward shoulder movement, you need to accordion the shoulder all the way out and then exert vertical pressure on a horizontal hinge that is ratcheted. How stupid is that of a design choice? And while the Combiner Wars version diverts to its basic bitch run-of-the-mill slider hinge shoulders that lock into place securely but nobody ever actually utilizes, yes, these do have locking points. The difference is that the shoulders stay attached to the frickin' body, because that makes sense. And to add even more awesomeness to this figure, they added a very simplistic flap that allows the shoulders to move all the way out instead of 1 or 2 clicks at the very most. As much as I've complained about this figure within the last, I don't know how many minutes I've been recording this, I have to honestly say that the thing still legitimately looks impressive. It's as perfect Ultra Magnus as you can get. I guess you could say it's my Magnus opus. I am extremely dead on the inside. His articulation includes a standard issue masterpiece head joint that can rotate and move up and down. The shoulders rotate and move out in an incredibly stupid way. Opening hands with a trigger finger. Bicep bend and rotation. Universal hips, knee bend, and mean tilt. This is where things start to become slightly even less impressive on the thing. The articulation on this thing feels so incredibly underwhelming it isn't funny. I mean, if a $50 average retail figure that I can buy at my local supermarket manages to have more points of articulation than a $240 retail masterpiece item, then I can honestly say I was justified in getting the knockoff and paying knockoff prices instead. I like figures that take the cool components of the Generation 1 counterpart and make them into their own modern, unique ideas, streamlining them and modernizing them, making them more aerodynamic and even cooler looking. Reasons I love figures like Thrilling 30 Roadbuster, Thrilling 30 Springer, Reveal Shield, Retgar, Combiner Wars, Ultra Magnus isn't because they're just G1 but with articulation. It's because they're G1 with articulation and they managed to make the figures so much cooler in the process. They respect the original origins of the character while simultaneously having the guts to be their own thing. That's what made them groundbreaking. I feel like with this, I'm just getting pure G1 fan service. And if I went the official retail route, I'd be getting way too expensive fan service for something that has lackluster articulation, floppy joints, and a very mixed bag of a transformation. But believe me, ladies and gentlemen, I've seen worse. Woohoo! I've definitely seen worse. Somebody kill me! So, in conclusion, Masterpiece Ultra Magnus is not bad. He's just a little dated in terms of his engineering. I love this thing to death, but given the fact it's a masterpiece and would retail for $240, I gotta give it like a 7.5 out of 10. So, Merry Christmas, you dump truck of idiots. And a happy New Year. Get the hell out of 2020, I'm out of this bitch. My son cut that thing up so I deep fried his f***ing meme.
I'm gonna turn into a Winnebago! Wow!